we're getting further into the fight. Like, we got Metro up, and like I was talking about in the last chapter with Doom going down in one chapter, a little bit more understandable. Like, he was a little bit more of a silly character, and being a traditional caster, and then, like, it made sense for him not to have a higher level of durability, and the fact that they were able to do that whole like way of beating him, while I think it making a lot of sense and highlighting a lot of the best traits about the guild, was really good. And especially when you like look back at something like the chapter with Azuma, when Azuma is like talking about his, like, when he realizes about the guild, it's not their individual strength, it's like their bonds together, their unity, and like their harmony as like a guild itself. It's more about their fighting strength as a whole team and as a mass of the Fairy Tail Guild than just one person going up, which was really good. And now we're getting to this fight. We got Metro up. It's been made a little bit more clear. Well, it's been hinted rather that Metro isn't like, he's not gonna also be very durable. He's more of a summoner, which makes sense because, well, we know generally summoners don't have like a lot of high durability because they send people in to fight. They're more set on the strategy of keeping away from damage while having their minions go at these people, which again makes sense why they would not have high durability if they're not used to taking damage. Because that's the normal thing with summoners in the series. That's like their weakness. The only summoner we really know of that's kind of like broken past this whole weakness is Lucy, because Lucy decided she didn't want to fight like that. She wanted to fight alongside her spirits, and then obviously throughout the series she's taken a lot of damage, got hit a lot, and because of that she's built up a pretty good amount of durability and overcome like a trait of weakness for that like entire style of fighting because of like how well she treated her spirits and stuff. So we get to this chapter, and it's like mostly a chapter just kind of highlighting. I want to say it's more over highlighting Gray and Juvia, and I think a lot of people are gonna really like that. Juvia and Gray, especially like since the 100 Years quest, we know that Gray like admits like he's got feelings for Juvia, and the only thing right now that's keeping him from being with her is he wants to feel strong enough that he can protect her, so something like what happened with Invil doesn't ever occur again. Which is really nice because he has a very personal reason to get much stronger, and the reason, we know that there's a lot of meaning behind it, that there's a lot of experiences that are, that created this whole goal in his mind, and it's something that that it's very genuine, and I like that a lot. But in the last chapter, we know Doom was defeated, and now we get to the God Seed Alderaan, who's talking about how, he's like, has the fate of death been defeated? He's a little bit kind of like perplexed, but he's like, this can't happen. This is what's going on here? And while Natsu, goes to attack him, you actually can see, when he goes to attack Natsu, you can actually see like the force of his attack, and Natsu is able to, dodge it this time. And he's saying that like, oh, well, has your power gotten like a little lower? And I think that maybe the God Seed version of Alderaan will become lesser and become, more capable for Natsu to defeat as the others are defeated. And I'm wondering like if that's going to be leads up to Alderaan's full defeat. I'd like to believe that it's only going to be his God Seed that they can beat, that Natsu can beat once these other God Seeds are defeated. Maybe he needs them up for like a connection to Alderaan, because we know that at some point he spawned all these deities. So they clearly have a connection to his abilities. And the question is like, is it going to be just this God Seed version of himself that gets kind of weakened by it, or would it be Alderaan himself, like the full Alderaan? Maybe I think it'd be better if it's like the God Seed version, like he's losing connection, and then maybe once the 5 God Seeds are destroyed, like Alderaan himself just kind of like lose control and goes apeshit crazy and just starts to go just tries to get aggressive. I don't know if I'll enjoy it too much if it's like, well, we beat the God Seed so we can beat like Alderaan now, unless there's something that really kind of like makes sense, like full on like detail for it. It's because I personally don't think that Alderaan, like the full version, is going to go down this arc. Maybe you will. Maybe we'll find out more exactly about like how the God Seeds work, and he's more dependent on them in general than what we know. But then we get back to the main group, the mass group of the Fairy Tail Guild fighting against Metro. And we get a new Stardust mix from Lucy. It's Aquarius and Scorpio. This one looks actually really cool, and I mean that more in like the Virgo and Leo one was really nice looking. Like it, I think that one is more like just beautiful. I think it looks just very pretty. And then we have this like she had that little like, dress. She had the wings behind her. It looked great. This one just looks badass. Like she's got like the bikini on, but also like this armored gauntlets and like greaves, and she's got like the Scorpio tail. The fact she's got the Scorpio tail I thought was a really interesting choice, because we've seen her star dress with Scorpio and she's like more like a ninja, and now she's got like the full-on tail. Then she's able to combine it and use like Aqua Stream, which is really sick. And I want to see more spells when she's in her when she's inside of her star dress instead of just the attacks, which I think would be much more fun than just seeing like her dropping a star dress, goes around fights. I want to see more of her spells. Like when we saw she had Aquametria when she was fighting Brandish, I thought that was really cool, because these are attacks that Lucy's created. These are things that she's herself has made, throughout her journey. And she has like her own abilities, like just the gate keys, and she's got some of her combos. But when you really see like stuff like this, where what she has created herself, and what she has like just developed through her own like experience, her own skill, is really cool. Especially when you look back at like the beginning, and like at the start, Lucy couldn't even close the gates herself. Once opened, the spirits will leave on their own. And you really just see how much she's like, how far she's come, and how much she's grown since the start of the story, that it's just a really nice thing to really kind of like look at that development and that progression for her. And that made me really happy. Like, but after that point, like we already know that she wasn't like, it's not like she's at 100% of her power. Like obviously stuff's been going on, but she was able to destroy one of the golems with that, which I think is very important. Like when you really think about it, because all these characters like attacking him, they don't look to really be doing any damage. Like every attack just seems to like barely do anything. Like her Taurus dress was able to do a little bit of damage, and then drops into this and just destroys him, which is really impressive, because we know that like base Gajiel wasn't able to really damage one, but Lucy, full on out being able to do this is really impressive on her part. And that's one of the reasons I think Gajiel deserves an upgrade. Like we know Gajiel's strong, like, but we were aware that obviously, like, he used a lot of magic while fighting Natsu. He's a little bit worn down, but he deserves to be to get some form of boost. And I'm hoping that Hiramashima gives him that. Hiramashima needs to give something to him, give him some up. Like I said, a new form would be really cool. Or if he can like go into like a degree of Dragon Force on his own, anything like that, where he can get some some ability to kind of like show that he's able to keep up in pace, and able to kind of like go along more with some of these characters. I think it's a little bit more needed, just because he as a character has been really well written. I think nobody can deny that Gajiel's a really well written character. But when you think about like the status of how like the story right now and the level of events going on, you need to be somewhat strong in order to really kind of like hold a position in what's going on, like in a lot of this craziness. Like you can be one of these other characters who ends up having, they're able to be found a way to be useful, like what we saw with Max and their crew. But people like Wendy aren't always going to be around to give them buffs and help them, and to have this kind of teamwork. And Gajiel, I think in general, just Gajiel also deserves it. Like he hasn't gotten anything really in a long time. Like the last one was when he got his Dragon Force against Bloodman, but it was a temporary one, so it was still really cool. There was a lot of like emotional attachments to that fight, but at the same time, like we need him to get something new, something shiny, something that just Gajiel fans can be like, yes, we're getting stuff. I don't know. Either way, then we're seeing just Lucy. She's out of magic now. She's got to rest, and I think also like the fact that she's able to do this, but it took a level of extent that like she kind of dropped out of her form, and she's clearly like exhausted. That it made it a lot more fair. And Gajiel wasn't able to he didn't go all out. It was like a base attack with his normal like straight like was Iron Dragon Club. So it makes more sense to me personally. A weaker like an attack if you're just your base one versus somebody's all out. And it makes more sense if even if the character that went all out is generally weaker, that the level of effort they put in was way more. Plus, it's not like Lucy's weak. Lucy's definitely not a weak character. In general, I think her style of fighting is more set on like how intelligent she is and like the variety of her abilities and how she can kind of utilize them. But obviously, in this case, like she needs to just go all out and use the utmost amount of her power. Meanwhile, we get back to Juvia and Gray. I actually like kind of laughed when Juvia like kind of got like it was just a Metro Golem come down, just brute force, go and punch her. It did no damage because a plain physical attack is not going to do anything to Juvia because she has her elemental body. She has she just splashes into water. It's kind of like there's always a thing when you attack a character that has a level of intangibility, and it's like, oh, that's not going to work. But when it's out of nowhere and it's not emphasized a lot, it's kind of like I think like over in this is a positive one now. I usually I worry like I don't want to take shots, but it's use an example. And I like how Luffy like plain physical attacks, like if you just dropped a big boulder on him, it wouldn't do anything. You would see a physical effect, like he gets squished, but there wouldn't be any damage, obviously, because he's made of rubber. So it's just one of those things like bring back a little bit of like base knowledge and stuff, but at the same time, it's not something that's used every single time. It's usually like when people go against Juvia, like the fact that she's got an elemental body and that normal attacks aren't really going to affect her. Generally, like the opponent that she fights has a way around it because they've got some weird ability. But Metro, as we've seen, at least like he's mostly just he's mass numbers of like large scale summons and like brute strength and just brute force and durability and whatnot. So a plain physical attack hitting her, you'd think like, oh no, something bad happens, because you wouldn't expect, you would assume that he's got some crazy power on top of it. Not for these golems. Like, it doesn't do anything to her. She goes to attack, uses one of her water spells, and obviously like using water though against wood isn't really going to do much for her. And Metro just goes like, yeah, but wood is going to absorb water. That's understandable. Like, plants, grass type super effective against water type. Oh my god, I'd have to look up what's that ability in Pokemon that I think it's grass types can heal from water attacks, if I'm thinking correctly. I know that there's like ones where like I know like some of the Eevee evolutions. I know like Vaporeon like can heal itself from water, but I think there's a grass type that does it too. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you know what I mean. I don't know. It's just funny to me because that's what I was thinking about when it came down to it. When it happened, I was like, oh yeah, just plain brute force isn't gonna affect Juvia. But then I'm like, but these guys are like, it's not like they're just wood. They're tree based, and obviously trees, and plants are gonna absorb water. Like they need it for survival and nutrients. Well, everything needs water, but you know what I mean. The difference for like how a tree does it versus a person. Juvia is like slowly getting absorbed inside of Metro, and she's like merged into like his body. Gray goes to try and help her, and now he's like just stuck, or she's stuck in him. And I actually didn't notice until this chapter, legit. I didn't notice how big Metro is, because we saw Wolfen. Like, Wolfen wasn't huge. Doom obviously wasn't huge. Gears doesn't look huge. Metro looks huge. Like, he's got to be at least, I'd say, like, 10 feet tall or something. Like, we don't get a lot of just really tall people in Fairy Tail 2. Obviously, like, stuff like dragons and whatnot. But outside, like, just general, like, normal humanoids, we don't get a lot of really tall people. Obviously, I'm not counting stuff like Ikusa Tsunagi or like Giant Makarov. Like One Piece fans are used to this. Like they got tons of really tall characters. Fairy Tail doesn't have a lot of really tall dudes. Like this big, especially. Like we got people, they got Elfman, Laxus, but their height is still pretty realistic. Like this dude, obviously not human, but being like 10 feet tall is still like a little bit impressive. Just in how he stands out from it. I mean, I guess he also stands out because he's literally just like a walking woodman. But he ends up using some of the power that he got from it, from Juvia, from Absorb, which I think is actually really cool. That he's absorbed her, like tree, the roots and stuff absorbing water. And now he's able to use water powers, and he's using like this water ray attack. It's just a concentrated beam of pressurized water, just like cutting through stuff and destroying anything in its path. Gray goes in attack, doesn't want to hit Juvia. He's just moving his attacks and whatnot. And starts getting hit by the wood golems. Juvia's obviously like freaking out because she doesn't want anything bad to happen to Gray. And while Metro's talking to him, and he's like, what does this girl mean to you and whatnot? And he pretty much just brings up like she's his power, she's his reason to live, the thing behind his power, and what drives him. And obviously, this for Juvia is like a big deal because we as the readers know that like, oh, I've had the music off the whole time. Let me turn the music on. This will be a little bit weird because it's gonna be like 15 minutes in and I turn the music on, but whatever. Maybe that'll be the special episode. But for Juvia, like she doesn't really know. I don't think she knows the full conviction of like stuff with like with Gray and like how he feels about her. So for her, somebody who's like been going after Gray for years, because even though it's like you don't count the time skip from their perspective, it's still been a couple of years that she's been very much lusting after Gray, and here she's seeing like full progress, and she's like, yes, I've gotten in, my chances are getting closer. She starts just heating up, and like all like Metro's just like, clearly the heat and the steam is bothering him, and we're gonna see Sierra Juvia again, and we haven't seen that since Phantom Lord, like against her initial fight with Gray, which is really cool because now we have them fighting together and we're seeing it again. And I've mentioned that before when it comes to 100 Years Quest. I've really enjoyed a lot of the callbacks, a lot of the stuff that is just like, you would know if like if they're like, this is just happening, and you're like, oh yeah, cool, this is happening in the chapter. But like for the people that can just look at this and realize we haven't seen this in so long. Like we haven't seen the boiling water Sierra Juvia since Phantom Lord. Like I can't think of a single part since then. I was trying to like figure out like maybe was there any other part where it happened? I can't even remember if there was a part in the anime, maybe a non-canon scene or something. Maybe there's something in one of the anime exclusive episodes. I'd have to go back and look, but I don't remember like her being in this form since Phantom Lord, at least in the manga, which is really cool. I've really enjoyed like a lot of these callbacks because it feels like such a nice extra level of reward as a reader when you get to one of these chapters. Not only are you seeing like character progression and stuff like this, and a lot of like good developments for like some of these characters. Like obviously it's not in like some of the eyes of some of like a normal reader. Like when you look at it, like, oh, it's cool. Now Gray's talking about caring for Juvia more. Like you got to keep in mind this is like for like a lot of like the more like long time and more like I don't want to say dedicated, more. What word am I trying to say? More kind of like focused and not focused. I don't know. More passionate readers. Let's go with that, because you can still read like a manga and still enjoy it, but not be like super passionate about it. But for the people that are really passionate about it, when you see Gray talk like that, you know how much it means to Juvia. That like even before we got to the panel, you don't even have to like look at the panel where Juvia's got the hearts in her eyes to know that this is going to be a big deal for her. Like for her as a person, this is huge. Because like the shippers, people in shippers are gonna freak out about it. Fans just in general, I think, are gonna be really excited about it. But from Juvia's perspective, this is like years of her life that she's been going for something, and now like the opportunity has finally like shown itself that she has like made progress, and she's just a step away, which is really nice. I think that's really good for her. But seeing the boiling Juvia is gonna be so cool, and I can't wait to see more like stuff like this where we get like callbacks. I'm still like, I've got my fingers crossed for the fight with Gears that we're gonna see Abyss Break, because that's one of those spells that we still haven't seen. You actually can see it a little bit. They show it in the video game that comes out at the end of next month, but it's still not in the manga. It's not even in the anime. Like we haven't even seen I don't think we've seen Abyss Break in the series get like cast off once, which is really weird when you think about it. We were kind of like that with Genesis Zero. We just have one of those abilities that never gets fully casted. It showed in the anime, and then we didn't get to see it. It wasn't obviously canon because it was an anime exclusive scene of like what it actually did. And then we got the Starry Sky arc in an anime exclusive. We saw what it does. That pretty much puts you in a pocket dimension, slowly numbs your mind until you kind of just kind of like mentally fade out of existence while trapped in there. And then we that being a canon arc, that we know what it meant or what it did. And Abyss Break coming up. I'm hoping you eventually get I'm hoping we eventually get Ars Magia, you know, the spell that August was going to use. I want to see somebody use that. I'm hoping maybe the White Witch knows like a lot of like crazy spells like that, and maybe like she won't have the, you know, have to suffer the side effects, and you know, maybe that'll be one of her things. She can put it on like her mind controlled people, something like that. Just because, you know, it's a weird feeling when you know, like attacks and stuff haven't, you know, exist in a series. You don't really know what they do. They just never get finished. You're like, I hope that one day we get to see it. I'm hoping for Abyss Break. It literally can be one. It could literally just be like a page. I just want to see what it looks like. Like we just know it's like just like a big attack. Like we don't think it. I don't think it does anything crazy. But at the same time, I still want to see it. So, a great chapter. Really enjoyed it. It was a very fun one. Like I still think I think the last chapter was definitely one of my favorites, like in all of 100 Years Quest, just because like it had so many great moments in terms of the whole series, like in the whole themes of the Fairy Tale Guild and everything that they stand for and whatnot, everything they're about. This one I think was just a really enjoyable one, and I think for some people this is going to be one of their favorite chapters, and then probably the next one too, because I know Gray and Juvia are both really, you know, really highly liked characters in the fandom. And they've got a very popular ship because there's this also like borderline from canon. So I think there's going to be a lot of hype from their end about this chapter. And I really look forward to the next one. There's the unfortunate side of things. We got 13 days till a new chapter. But at the same time, it's just something, you know, just something we're used to. We got to wait for we got to wait for what's the wait. But I think it's always worth it when we get stuff like this. Because not only did we get, like I said, we got a new form for Lucy. We got to see her do stuff. We didn't get to see what's going on with Godjill. I don't think I saw Godjill in this chapter. I had to go back and look. I might have missed him just because like it wasn't emphasized on him, but it was more of like, even in that scene, it was more of like Lucy and like what she's doing. And again, I also really just like her new form. I think it looks great. I like her new spell. I enjoy seeing Lucy capable of stuff. Oh no, we do see Godjill. We see the back of him and just some of his hair at like in one of the panels, and that's it. I still am really hoping that he gets something, even if it's taking down a bunch of these wood golems. That'd make me really happy. And like I said, I'm hoping for something like he gets some new form and some upgrade, uses a big attack and like takes down a bunch of the golems, helps get an opening for Gray and maybe even Juvia to attack. Because I know people were talking about like the Metro fight, like Metro himself, of it, you know, if it's gonna be a Gray and Juvia like big stuff chapter, like if Juvia's gonna get anything new. I didn't think she was gonna get anything new because even though Juvia is like still pretty relevant and capable as a character, I don't think she needs to have like a lot of new power, like new forms and stuff, because I think her abilities are already really good. You know, her just having new attacks and new ways to use it, I think, is already pretty good for her. Obviously, Godjill needs a new form though. Gray needs to have like a progressed demon form, but I was surprised to see the Sierra Juvia again, the boiling water, and that was just a delight because it's one of those things we haven't seen in so long that when you think about the length of it, it's like, man, awesome, this is gonna be fantastic. I can't wait. It's like when we saw Iron Shadow Dragon Godjill and Lightning Flame Dragon Natsu, and it's like we haven't seen those in a while. So it was just such a nice feeling when you get to like look back and be like, sweet, like I remember this is gonna be fantastic. Especially like with Sierra Juvia, because it's so much bigger of a gap since we've last seen it that it makes it I think a little bit more special, at least to me. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, prefer the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.